What's going on, people? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another review show where we look back at all the Premier League's weekend fixtures, look at our predictions that we made before the weekend and see how we did, and obviously talk about the major talking points over this weekend's Premier League fixtures. If you're new around here, how the scoring works for our prediction game, you get 5 points for a correct result, 1 point for a correct score, and we each pick a star man each week. And once you pick that man, you can't pick them again, and if they score a goal, you get 5 points. If they get an assist, you get 2 points. So at the moment, the scores on the doors are 82 to me and 87 for Ben going into the weekend. And the first fixture we're looking at is at Villa Park. Aston Villa play Brighton. It finished 6-1 to Aston Villa. I went 2-1. Ben said it would finish 2-2. Absolute mauling at the end of the day for Brighton, who got battered. Villa very, very impressive on the day. The stats read a lot closer game than it really was, but I think it was very similar to maybe the West Ham game, maybe with more chances for Villa, but they were just dominant physically throughout the game. They were clinical. Ollie Watkins bagging a hat-trick on the day, and it was one of those games for Brighton where they just looked completely out of sorts going forward, and if they're out of sorts in possession, then their backline is very vulnerable, and Villa completely took advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, I think the right word is definitely clinical for Aston Villa. They just finished off pretty much every chance. They had 9 shots on target on the day, scoring 6 goals. And with Ollie Watkins not just scoring a hat-trick, but grabbing 2 assists as well. So he had his hand in 5 of the 6 goals that Aston Villa scored. So look, I think this is a bit of a humbling result for Brighton because it's against a team which are probably going or have the same or similar aspirations to them this season to fight for the Europa League spots. But an unbelievable result for Aston Villa, and they've really seemed to kind of announce themselves in the season now on really good form this month, and Unai Emery is doing a spectacular job over there.
Yeah, they're up to 5th place, actually above Brighton now on goal difference, and it's actually 10 home wins in a row now in Premier League football for Aston Villa, spanning the end of last season as well. Brighton, on the other hand, after 3 consecutive wins, a bit of a humbling defeat. And look, I think there's a few lessons to be learned there, because they had a very similar experience against West Ham, against a team who are very solid defensively and just completely exploited their backline. And they've got to learn from these mistakes if they're going to really take that next step from going into Europa League and challenging the Champions League spots, because they can't afford to be so open defensively if they're not going to be making the most of their opportunities when they're on the ball. And although they might consider themselves a bit unlucky with a couple of VAR decisions again, I thought the second goal it was a bit lucky that Zaniolo was standing in front of the keeper and no offside was given, and the third goal as well, I think it was, or the fourth goal, Douglas Luiz fouls one of the Villa players in the build-up, and the VAR doesn't go back to check it, but I think maybe the phase of play had gone on a bit. But I think Brighton have got to take these lessons, because that's a couple of humblings now they've taken. But look, it's going to happen with the way they play, so I think they've just got to take the positive with the negative, I guess.
I didn't really expect Brighton to get battered, but I mean, I did expect Brighton to drop points, especially. I know Villa had Europe as well, but I just feel like Brighton and the players that they have are very new to like the European scene, where you've seen Villa players. Some of these Villa players have been there and played in Europa League and European football before. But I think with this Brighton team, I think De Zerbi alluded to it as well. They're just not used to playing 2 games a week, and I think that might have been a factor in this game.
Yeah, and look, only Sheffield United have conceded more goals now this season than Brighton, so definitely weaknesses in their backline ready to be exploited if they're not careful. But we move on. So the scores are now 83 to 87. I get a point and Ben doesn't get any points. Next up, we go to Bournemouth, the Vitality. Arsenal beat Bournemouth by 4 goals to 0. I said it'll be 1-0. Ben said 1-1. Given all the injury worries Arsenal had pre-game, Saliba, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka all ended up starting the game, so they didn't really have...
fooled us all. He fooled us all with his injury news.
So they didn't really have the depleted team that many were expecting. And the result probably showed that, because they were utterly dominant throughout the game. But Bournemouth barely laid a glove on Arsenal. They were the beneficiary of 2 penalty decisions, albeit probably fair decisions in the end. So I don't think you can say they were lucky in that aspect. And look, a dominant performance from Arsenal. Saka, Odegaard all getting on the score sheet. Then Saka giving his penalty to Kai Havertz to allow him to get his first goal of the game. So Arsenal maybe back on track after that result.
Yeah, look, I think it's a result which you expect them to get if they're at full strength. So I don't read too much into it. It's Bournemouth, though, definitely worrying, to be honest, because they're now 7 games winless under their new manager. And I'm not sure where a win is coming from, to be honest. They seem to be getting beat every single week at this rate. So they need to find the results, and they need to find results quick. But when I saw the Arsenal lineup, I kind of knew it was going to be one of these games.
Yeah, three draws and 4 defeats from their first 7 games for Bournemouth, albeit I don't think they could have had too much of a more difficult start. So I'm guessing their results will be judged when they play some of the more bottom half teams and playing the big boys. But Arsenal will be very happy with their result. Yeah, not too much we can learn from that result. I think it's just a very good win, and I think Arsenal fans will just be happy considering all the injury news before the game that they came through it. Although apparently rumours Saka hobbled off, but he seemed to be picked in training in the last couple of days, so he should be fine for the next few games. And going into City, they're looking strong again in terms of their injury list, so very good win for Arsenal. Next up, we go to Goodison Park. Everton were beaten 2-1 by Luton. I went 3-1 to Everton, you went 2-0, but a really worrying and really poor defeat really from Everton. And they've got Sean Dyche a bit, because 2 goals from set pieces from Luton put them 2-0 up in the first half, and Luton were causing Everton trouble from corners throughout that whole first half and made them pay for it. Everton do get a goal back just at the end of the half. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scrambling a goal home just at the end to make it 2-1. Second half, Everton piled on the pressure without really creating too many amazing opportunities, only creating 0.65 XG throughout that whole second half. So that goes to show their struggles of creating chances. And now the narrative, especially at home for Everton, might start to change, because the first 2 games they were beaten by Wolves and beaten by Fulham, but the Fulham and Wolves keepers were man of the match in those 2 games. So you can maybe say they were unlucky. But in this game, you just got to say they were well beaten. And Luton obviously claiming their historic first Premier League win, massive result for them, but must be concerning, because it looked like Everton turned a corner last week against Brentford, but they're back to square one now.
Yeah, they are back to square one, to be honest. An awful result for them, because they would have been licking their lips after getting their first win of the season away at Brentford. And you're thinking, at Luton at home, all right, Everton can go on a bit of a run now. And they were asked to take the ascendancy and take the game to Luton Town, and they just couldn't do it. And they got sucker punched by 2 set-piece goals, as you say. I mean, I thought they were getting back into it, but Luton take away the 3 points, and probably deservingly so as well.
Yeah, and the fact that they had 0 shots on target in the second half, I think, goes to show their lack of clinical edge at the moment up front. Albeit Calvert-Lewin has got 3 in 3, so he is a man in form. But I think Everton as a whole, they've got to be very concerned really with how the season is going. They would have, I think, they would have wanted to at least push on a bit at the start of the season, but it's now after 7 games, 5 defeats, 1 draw, and 1 win. That win coming last week against Brentford. When you're losing at home to Luton, the alarm bells have to be ringing. But Luton got to be absolutely delighted with their first win. We've been saying on this channel, week on week, they've been improving. So you've got to give them credit. And albeit, they did ride their luck at times, but I think they defended very, very well. And Morris is turning into a bit of a handful for a lot of defences at the moment with his physicality in the opposition box. He scored a really lovely goal, I have to say, albeit poor defending for Everton, but a lovely finish, first-time volley at the back post. And look, they got Burnley in midweek, so a chance to maybe build ahead of steam. And Luton, very, very good result. They are now unbeaten in 2, which doesn't say much, but that's something to build on for them.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel for Luton, where everyone thought they were going to be sleepwalking to relegation, essentially. But look, alarm bells have to be going for Everton. Look, they did get nearly a 3 XG on the day, but just couldn't convert the chances in the first half. And like you say, very lackluster in the second half.
Yeah, but that's got to be the biggest concern. 2-1, you have the whole second, especially a goal before half time. You got that whole second half to really have a go, and they barely created anything. So that's got to be a massive concern for Everton. We go over to Old Trafford. Man United beaten 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace after just a few days after beating them 3-0 in the Carabao Cup. I went for 2-2. Ben went for 2-0 to Man United. Frustrating day for them at the end. Again, a lot of possession, a lot of shots, 19 shots on the the day. But look, in terms of the chances created, 1.3 XG compared to Crystal Palace's 0.9, so fairly similar in terms of numbers. So got to be a massive concern again for Man United. Started with a front three of Højlund, Pellistri and Marcus Rashford, with Bruno in there as well. Mason Mount back in the team. Look, they had the team out there and the players to hurt Crystal Palace, but Palace got a great goal from Anderson from a set piece and never really looked like conceding apart from a few scary moments in the second half.
That was a top finish by Joachim Anderson. Top finish. And now you'll start, maybe you realised before, but, you know, I put him in the underrated 11 for a reason, and that's another reason for it. An unbelievable performance from him. But look, Man United, I felt, should have got a bit more from this game. I don't think they deserve to lose. Maybe a draw or maybe even just nicking the win probably was a fair result on the day. But I also said about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I don't think Ten Hag is going to last the season. And that's looking more and more likely as the weeks progress. I mean, after not losing at home for so long, and now to lose 2 in the space of is such a short time against Brighton and Crystal Palace. We talk about the alarm bells ringing for Everton. I think the alarm bell should be ringing for Manchester United as well.
100%. This season already 10th in the league, 3 wins and 4 defeats, 7 games in, and they've already lost 4, which is astounding considering, you know, they probably really wanted to kick on after a good first season under Ten Hag, but things are definitely going sour at the moment. Ten Hag cuts a stressed figure on the touchline after the game. He said it just wasn't good enough. We need to start getting results and better performances, but it's hard to see where it's going to turn around because it just feels like at the moment, unless Rashford and Bruno are providing moments of magic, there just doesn't seem to be much at the moment in that Man United forward line. Sancho's still not being selected. Obviously, Anthony is going to be back in contention from next week, but whether he can provide the difference remains to be seen. Højlund has looked decent in his first couple of appearances, but it's going to take time for him to really start to get going probably. I don't think you can rely on him for a source of goals consistently straight away. So at the moment, it's concerning where this is going to turn around. And teams like, when you're losing at home to teams like Crystal Palace 1-0, and albeit, yeah, maybe they deserved something more, maybe a draw, but you can't really come out and say they deserved a win in that game after that performance. So I think there has to be major alarm bells ringing, because at the moment they're on 9 points. Top 4 is the 4th place is Liverpool, which is on 16. So already they're 7 points off top 4 after 7 games, and that gap, as we said last week, doesn't look like it's getting any smaller at the moment. So they have to really start to get track together. They got City. Look, you're losing at home to Palace, so no game is guaranteed at the moment for Man United. They probably looked at this game thinking, okay, they beat Burnley last week. We can really start a run of games now where we've got some nice fixtures. But then next game they lose at home to Palace. So
you know who's really frustrating me in a Man United shirt is Marcus Rashford. Like he just hasn't kicked on whatsoever from the great showing he showed last season. And even last season, like, he went on a really long and good run, good goal-scoring form, but I felt like he was a very patchy player last year anyway, as much as, like, I think he was a bit overhyped last season, probably, Marcus Rashford, for what he actually did produce. And this season, he just hasn't started well. He seems to be very selfish this season, not seem to be passing when he should be passing, holding on to the ball for too long, losing the ball on too many occasions, and not finding the net and being a goal threat as often as he should be.
Yeah, I feel like when he's on that left-hand side, he's really good if he's in like maybe like a wide forward kind of role, like Salah used to play. Maybe not this season, but like he used to be very much a goal scorer from out wide. But this season with Højlund in as a central striker the last few games, if Rashford's been asked to be a bit more creative and create a few more chances, and I feel like that's definitely a part of his game which is quite weak. I don't see him as a very good link player. I think he's very good when he's asked to do things by himself, beat a couple of players, get a shot off, go through one-on-one and finish. He's very good at those aspects of the game, but when he's asked to link the play a few 1-2s, play a really nice crosser face the goal, something like that, those are things which he hasn't been excelling at. Even last season, it was more about his goal scoring than chance creation. So if United are really going to turn this around, he's going to have to be more of a team player, I feel, and I completely agree with you. Newcastle against Burnley at St James's Park. It finished 2-0. I went 2-0. Ben went 3-0. So I get the 5-pointer in this game. Newcastle completely dominant.
Been 3-0.
Yeah, look, 3.1 xG. So if they scored the chances they created, they would have won 3-0. Burnley 0.65. Albeit I felt Burnley had a fairly positive start, and I think they had a goal ruled out through offside quite early on. But soon after, Newcastle did take control and end up with a fairly comprehensive victory. Miggy Almiron with a really nice finish from the edge of the box to open the scoring, and then Alexander Isak sealing the win with a penalty late on. And Burnley didn't really cause them too much trouble after that. So Newcastle carrying on their good form, three wins on the bounce now. So it looks like they've been turning a bit of a corner.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying at the start of the game with Burnley. I thought Koleosho was playing really well once again. Every time I see this guy play, I'm really impressed. I think he's going to be a top player in the Premier League at some point, but it's still very young. But Newcastle keep on rolling on. I mean, after a poor start to the season, they've really turned it around now. And maybe they are going to be in the conversation in the top 4 and top 5 now. And I think they're looking really good and a well-deserved victory.
Yeah, very well-deserved victory, and probably not unexpected, though, against a Burnley side who you can create chances against if you can dominate them. And that's pretty much what they did. Next up, we go to West Ham and the Olympic Stadium. It finished 2-0 to West Ham. I went 2-0. I went 1-0, and Ben went 2-0 in this one. So Ben trade blows for blows and gets the 5-pointer back in this one. Very solid win for West Ham. I think it was very crucial they got that early goal in the first half, which really opened the game up, and they did through Jared Bowen. Souček ultimately making it 2-0 before half-time. And the second half, it was just a case of containing Sheffield United. Not many chances at either end, really, in that second half. And Sheffield United, I think, gave a good account of themselves, but at the end of the day, were beaten by the better side.
Yeah, I think for me, for Sheffield United, it was probably more about the performance than it was about the actual result after that 8-0 mauling and that embarrassment of a performance that they played against Newcastle. So I did think they put that right to a certain extent, but I thought just West Ham were just a bit too strong and kind of blew them away in the first 15 minutes of the game. Jared Bowen on fire this season, and he's shagging Dagging Dyer.
Yeah, he's playing incredible, and he scored a great goal. Ward-Prowse was given man of the match by SofaScore, even though he didn't get a goal or an assist, which really shows what an influence he's making on that team at the moment. He's had an unbelievable start to the season, and a very good win for West Ham against a tricky side like Sheffield United, who can make things difficult for you. They really made fairly light work of it, and they keep up their good form now. 4 wins in the first 7 games, 13 points as well. So they're definitely in and amongst it for the European places, but we'll have to wait and see if they can keep up come the second half of the season when more games are coming thick and fast with European football. Yeah, 100%. We go to the Molineux after a shock result. Wolves winning 2-1 against Man City. We both went 2-0, and Wolves had the funny thing with Wolves is they had 1 shot on target throughout the whole game and won the game 2-1, which I think goes to show maybe how the game probably went. Man City had 23 shots, 8 shots on target as well, but couldn't get past a very stubborn Wolves team, and a very, very impressive win for them. They definitely did cause City a lot of trouble in that first half. Pedro Neto in the form of his life at the moment, you have to say, pretty much forcing an own goal out of Ruben Diaz. Julian Alvarez, who's also having a great season with a brilliant free kick, equalised, but Hwan Hee-chan against the run of play late in the game, putting them 2-1 up.
That South Korean guy.
Exactly. Guardiola didn't even know who he was. Sorry, it wasn't that late in the game. 66 minutes on the clock. He put them 2-1 up. And Man City had 25 minutes to get an equaliser and weren't able to do it. And despite all their domination and despite all the shots raining down on them, Wolves came away with the result. Really impressive. Gary O'Neill was absolutely buzzing after that. And Man City getting their first loss of the season. Is there chinks in the armour there, or was that just a blip?
Just a blip for me, but I think I told you Gary O'Neill's doing a good job at Wolves. You don't want to listen to me. And,
I think they got lucky, in my opinion.
He's taken the 3 points off Wolves. But look, you got to say, after Man City, I know they had 8 shots on target in the game, but look at that XG, 0.87. They just couldn't seem to break down Wolves as they have been breaking down teams in previous weeks. And there's a stat, actually, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the number of games that they lose when Rodri is not playing is actually quite alarming, especially with them going to the Emirates next week. So I think that maybe Man City do have a few things to worry about, because we always say about Man City, they can lose any player. It doesn't seem to affect them. But the kind of exception to that rule is Rodri.
100%. He's kind of the only player. I mean, that Calvin Phillips, you would have thought he might have got an opportunity in this game, but they went with Nunes and Kovacic, with Nunes actually getting hauled off at half time against his old club. So shows maybe what Guardiola thought of his performance in that first half. But you got to give, major credit to Wolves. They defended so well. I think you're right in terms of the chances they conceded, like 0.87 goes to show that they were really frustrating Man City, and a lot of the shots must have been from out of range or from difficult angles. So all the credit for how they defended, and it's not so easy as well. You saw how they went 1-0 up against Liverpool and ended up losing 3-1. So I think Man City definitely a bit concerning for them. But look, Rodri's only going to be out, I think, for one more game, albeit it is Arsenal, so they'll get him back very, very soon. But very, very poor result for them, a great result for Wolves. Next up, we go to the Tottenham Stadium. Spurs beat Liverpool 2-1. I went 2-2. Ben went 3-2. A game mired in controversy with 2 red cards for Liverpool and a goal wrongly ruled out for offside as well. Spurs, though, had to wait until the 96th minute of 6 minutes added on to win the game through Joel Matip own goal. Fantastic win for Spurs. Liverpool will feel robbed, and maybe rightly so. But you got to give credit to Spurs for being patient against 9 men and ended up, never stopping and getting over the line in the end. And it was a game just jam-packed with events and controversy.
Yeah, I mean, the game started, I thought 11v11, Liverpool probably had the better chances and were slightly the better team, but I think it was a really good game of football. We were no way overawed by the occasion. We were definitely in the game, that's for sure. But it was, I thought Liverpool were probably slightly the better team. And the Curtis Jones sending off happens. Whether you think it's a red card or not, he goes. Do you think it's a red card?
I do. I do think it's a red card.
Yeah.
I think he's over the top of the ball. I know he's unlucky with how the events conspired, but I think at the end of the day, it's a dangerous challenge. I don't know what Gareth Carragher is on about when he says, we have to look at it in full speed, because I think it looks just as bad in full speed. If anything, the only angle that saves Curtis Jones is a slow-mo angle, which where you can see his foot bouncing off the ball. So I don't understand the frustration there, in my opinion. I think it's a lot made of nothing. I can understand he's unlucky, but I think it's a red.
Yeah, I think Carragher's getting it a bit mistaken, to be honest, because usually when it does look worse, slowed down. But in this case, I don't think it makes it look any worse or any better, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't think it makes a difference, it being slowed down in this sense. But what I do get from his point is, it's not even his point, but when the ref went over to the monitor, it was on a still of the high boot going into Bissouma's shins and Bissouma's leg just twisted round. So I guess maybe if that's the first image you see, that can do something to your mind if you're the referee. But look, I think I don't think he can have too many complaints about being sent off from that. And I think that Liverpool trying to get that overturned, I think is an absolute joke, because it's never going to be overturned. But look, that happens, the sending off happens, and then the offside goal. I mean, that is just one of the biggest cock-ups I've ever seen from VAR in the Premier League. And the reasoning behind it is just it's just pure negligence on their part. It's just how can they think that it was been given a goal when Spurs setting up for a free kick for an offside? I mean, it's just
VAR
are they just not watching what's going on the pitch?
They're not watching the game. It's madness. They're literally not watching the game. They just don't know what's going on. It's absolutely unthinkable that VAR can be put in that decision. It's obviously led to a widespread conversation about what to do with VAR at the moment, because people are at their wits' end, it seems, with the whole situation, because they're sick of VAR getting wrong decisions off the back of VAR, causing fans not to celebrate goals because they're worried it's going to be chalked off, and the long delays stopping the flows of games. And maybe you can accept it if they're getting decisions right, but at the moment they're not getting the decisions right a lot of the time. So I guess that leads to a question: what do you do with it? Do you bin it? Do you just try and refine it as much as you can? I don't like it.
The people that are running it, you got to change the people that are in that VAR room at Stockley Park, because they don't know what they're doing essentially. And I think where the hell is automated offsides, semi-automated offsides? Why do we not have that in the Premier League? It's a joke. How well did that work at the World Cup? I thought it was brilliant.
They have it in the Champions League as well.
Sorry?
They have it in the Champions League and in Serie A as well.
Exactly. So why do we not have that in the Premier League? Like that would eradicate so many of the problems that we're having at the moment with these stupid offside decisions. But this decision alone, I mean, it was just an absolute joke. I've never seen a more onside goal given for offside. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, that goal gets disallowed. Spurs go up the other end and score with a really nice goal. And I thought from the goal, Liverpool had a bit of time at the end of that first half where they were on top a little bit, and they got the goal, and probably deservedly so from their good play. But I thought from when the second half started till the second sending off, I thought Spurs were well on top and probably should have scored a goal or two before Liverpool. Before we did get that, before Jota got sent off, but once it went down to 9 men, it was incredibly difficult for us, and we just could not break them down whatsoever.
Yeah, and it was a very brave performance from Liverpool. They were very close to hanging on for a point, but that late slip from Joel Matip giving Spurs all 3 points. And look, for all you want to say about maybe Spurs could have done better, at the end of the day, they did get the win. They're now second in the league, 7 off on 17 points. They end Liverpool's 18-game unbeaten run as well. So look, Spurs go from strength to strength at the moment, and they're still passing all the tests that are put in front of them, and couldn't be going better. Liverpool be frustrated, but in terms of the result, because City lost, I guess when they're looking at the top of the table, it wouldn't affect them too much. So just a very good win for Spurs in the end. Next up, we go to the City ground. The only game on Sunday was Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. It finished 1-1, and we both went for 1-1. So we both get 5 points here. I didn't see much of this game. I know Niakite got sent off just at the start of the first half. Brentford taking the lead through Christian Norgard. I think it was a header from a free kick in that first half. After then, Forest went down to 10 men, but managed to rally, get the equaliser. Lovely looping header from Nicolas Dominguez with 25 minutes to go, getting that equaliser. Brentford, 25 minutes against 10 men, weren't able to get that winner. And that's, again, a bit concerning because there's still only one win so far in 7 games for Brentford. And when they're facing 10 men for half an hour, I know it's not easy, but you've got to fancy your chances in that situation. They just weren't able to get over the line.
Yeah, it's a weird situation this season. I know it can be difficult playing against 10 men. Well, it's definitely difficult playing against 9 men. I can tell that from experience. But I think teams that are getting men sent off seem to be coming off a better of games at the moment. I don't know what's going on in that situation. But I think like the way this game went, I think Brentford will be very frustrated that they didn't win this game. Nottingham Forest, obviously, they maybe had the better of it in the opening exchanges of the game. But I thought over the stretch of the 90 minutes, Brentford were the better side, and they'll be very frustrated.
Another game marred with a bit of controversy as well. Matt Turner fouling Wissa in the box after getting robbed of possession, and VAR not going back and checking that one. And I think a lot of the referees at the moment who have been reviewing that decision has said that that was another mistake, and Matt Turner definitely should have been given away a penalty against Wissa. So another one, just the day after the Liverpool game where the referees may be looking like they've made another mistake. So I thought that was a definite penalty as well. Very, very lucky Matt Turner to get away with that one. The final game of the weekend is at Craven Cottage. Fulham played Chelsea in the West London derby. I went for 2-0 to Chelsea, so I get 5 points. Ben went 0-0, so he gets 0 points in this one. Chelsea finally getting the rub of the green and a win on the board, actually taking them to 11th now in the league. Goals from Mikhailo Mudryk and Armando Broja in that first half, giving them a commanding lead after an impressive first half display. Fulham came back into it a bit in that second half, but didn't really do enough to score against Chelsea, and probably Chelsea run out deserved winners. But I think Chelsea, look, played well. Give them credit. They got the goals and they won the game deservedly. So with all the luck they've had in front of goal recently, I think they definitely deserve this victory. I wasn't overly impressed with them. I thought they definitely had a good first half and were utterly dominant. But I think it definitely follows a pattern of their game so far, where they're looking confident and energetic in that first half and create chances. And this time they got the ball in the back of the net. But second half, again, there was a bit of a drop-off. They didn't seem the same team. But in the end of the day, they defended well enough to keep the clean sheet. So very solid win for Chelsea.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with like Enzo and Caicedo in the middle, how they were controlling things, to be honest. But that defensive error for the second goal was just so bad from Tim Ream. Not only does he like do a terrible pass out the back, but then he tries to recover and then just hits it off Brozier and it goes in. So really bad there. So you never know if it goes in 1-0 at half time. You never know what can happen in that second half. But 2-0 was probably too big of a deficit to overturn. In terms of Mudryk, really nice finish, really nice run with a really good ball from Levi Colwell as well. But why did he take him off at half time?
I don't know. He didn't seem to be injured. I'm not really sure why he was taken over half time. I don't know. I don't know the reason.
Because you get your first goal, confidence should be like seeping through you. You think go and kill them in the second half, and then he takes him off at half time. I thought that was really strange from Poch.
Yeah, couldn't tell you why. Couldn't tell you. It was a very odd decision. But look, Chelsea needed that victory badly, didn't they? Just to relieve some of the pressure on Pochettino. And now all of a sudden things don't look so bad. 11th in the league on 8 points. And albeit they are still 8 points off a top 4 finish. But if they're looking at the top 6, they're about 7 points off top 6. So, I mean, it's still quite a far way away, but things definitely, they're starting to look up rather than down, which was a scary moment. Fulham, on the other hand, really poor performance, I felt. And I felt in that first half as well, they were atrocious. They had one shot that whole first half, and they had 0.03 XG in that first half, which went to show how they just really couldn't get involved in the game. And they just seemed to have they lack any serious firepower. They had Willian, Harry Wilson and Raul Jimenez in that front line, and they just couldn't get near that Chelsea back line. It was really pitiful, especially in a West London derby. You're expecting a bit more from them, and I was very disappointed.
Yeah, they are playing really poor at the moment, and I kind of like expected this lack of firepower. When you sell Mitrovic and bring in Raul Jimenez, this ain't the Raul Jimenez that was scoring goals for Wolves. This is the Raul Jimenez post-head injury and never really seemed to get back to his best. So once you do that, you need to bring in more. You can't just swap Jimenez for Mitrovic for Jimenez and expect like the same kind of outcome. So unfortunately, they got lack of options there up front, and it's showing.
And they're still relying on like a 35-year-old Willian as well. And as much as he had a good season last season, that's just not a sustainable solution. They need to be getting like younger players involved there. And I can envision a situation sooner rather than later where Marco Silva starts to get really frustrated with it. So I have to watch this space. But at the moment, they're still 13th. They're 5 points above the relegation zone. So not a massive threat at the moment. Teams seem to be doing worse than that. That could change over the next few weeks. We'll have to wait and see. Last up, we got the star men. I went for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who got a goal, so I get 5 points there. Ben went for Abdoulaye Doucouré, who assisted Calvert-Lewin for the goal against Luton, so he gets 2 points. Calvert-Lewin actually pinching it off Doucouré, who was about to put it in the empty net, and Calvert-Lewin just got in there. He just got in there quickly.
Snake,
gave me those 5 points.
Doucouré was literally like on the goal line, and then out of nowhere, Calvert-Lewin just comes and knocks it in.
DCL must have seen our prediction, thought no chance he landed Doucouré to put that in the back of the net. That's what he thought. So at the end of the week, a bit of a swing. I lead now 105 to 102 after Ben had a 5-point lead going into the weekend. So a big swing. No, maybe a 6-point. But anyway, a big swing this week. So I end the week 3 points in the lead. But that is it for your weekend's review. Oh, sorry, it's not it. We have one more thing to go through, and it is the prediction for tonight's game. Luton play Burnley at Luton. So we'll go for our predictions. I've gone for 3-1 to Burnley. You've gone for 2-1. Why have you gone for 2-1 to Burnley?
I think on the back of the first win for Luton, I think that's kind of got that monkey off their back. But Burnley haven't got that monkey off their back yet. And I think they are a better footballing side than Luton. And I think they're going to show that to them tonight at Kenilworth Road. And I think I've been impressed in parts with the way Burnley have been playing with the likes of Koleosho. I think Foster's back for this game as well. Amdouni as well in behind. So I think they've got options that can really hurt Luton. I'm looking at Luton's attack. Yeah, they've got Morris, who's been performing well this season. But I just feel like with the football that Burnley play, they will get the better of Luton tonight. But I do think it could be a bit of a close game.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-1. I just gone for Burnley to really get that first win off the board. Look, they'll see this as a big opportunity because they've had a very difficult start to the season, and away from home against last season's championship opponents, they'll definitely think surely we have to go away. And even though it'll be difficult, they have to watch out from set pieces because Luton have been very strong from that. But I think they're going to dominate possession. They're going to dominate the ball, and I do think as well Luton will see this as an opportunity to try and build the momentum off that win against Everton. So I don't expect them to just be sitting back and waiting for Burnley. I expect them to go out Burnley a bit, and I think that could suit Burnley. So that's why I've gone for a 3-1 win for Burnley. So we will review this on Predict the Prem on Thursday. We'll come back to it, but those are our predictions, and that is it for the weekend's review. Let me know in the comment section anything we discussed there, all the games. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you soon.